I'm not spinning, 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 I'm not spinning,
All right. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Bitches Brew. And tonight, it's being hosted by me, Karen B, but I can't stream on my main channel. So we're here on Unveiling This Realm, my backup channel. And today we are going to discuss the empath and the beast. Let's see, what's today? Today's October. Ted needs to go help that guy. Today's October 4th, 2020. Actually, the reason I chose this subject today is because October 4th, today is what would have been my 11th wedding anniversary to the person that I am currently divorced from or getting divorced from, who is also a narcissist and an abuser and ruined my family. But I'm still here and I'm smiling.
Yay.
From being in that relationship and going through the dynamic of being someone who's an empath and being in a relationship with someone who is a narcissist, and not to say that all narcissists are abusive, because that's not true. There are narcissists who aren't abusive. Not all of them are bad. But if you are an empath and you're in a relationship with someone who is a narcissist and they happen to be abusive, well, you don't really have a chance in hell in that relationship if you don't know what's happening to you. And that is what happened to me. And so now I know the signs to look for. There was a lot of red flags early on that I didn't see at the time. But one thing, before we get into all that, the hindsight of that relationship, being an empath and being in a relationship with a narcissist, and the things that happen, the way that the narcissist like tears you down. They tear you down. They get with you in the beginning. They're building you up and telling you how great you are, and then once they do that, they start to tear you down and to destroy you from the inside out, and to make you feel like you're nothing and that you can't survive without them and you need them. Okay. And so this is sort of what I've noticed after living through that and taking a step back at all this stuff that we're looking at in the system that we're living in, is that what I see is that the system is a narcissist system, right?
Yes.
It's like the system itself is narcissistic, and everybody, all the masses, all the living beings, we're the empaths, because really everybody is empathic. Everybody's an empath. Some people are just more sensitive to it than others. Some people have been shut off from it completely because of really the things that they're subjected to by living in this beast system. The starting with being injected with poisons that pass your blood-brain barrier when you're a child, you know, it sets you up from failure from the very beginning. So I noticed that that's what happens. The system, it's like it tells you that it wants to nurture your children, right? No child left behind, and it tells you how great this country is, and you can do whatever you want. And then you get in the system, and they're telling you how great everything is, but at the same time, it's tearing you down. It's slowly choking out that little fire inside of you that you had when you were a child. You know, that spark that you're born with, that divine spark. The whole time that you're in the system and you're in the school system, it's just slowly choking everything away. It's killing your imagination. It kills your creativity. It kills your drive. It kills your curiosity. When they're telling you that they're fostering it, but they're doing the exact opposite. So that's why I wanted to talk about this and get everybody's perspective on that. I didn't want to make this about being in abusive relationships. I just start off there because that's how I came to realize what this all is and sort of understand how it's working. And this is that's sort of my journey on how I've come to understand what's going on. And actually, I feel like knowing that has made it easier for me to actually function in the system, because I realize that the things that the system is imposing on me, I don't have to take that on. And that's something when you're an empath and you're in a relationship with a narcissist, when they're putting the responsibility of their feelings on you, you take that on as something that you have to do.
Karen, let me ask you a question. Did your narcissist target you out, seek you out to get the relationship going with you to begin with? Because that's what happened with me.
Well, yeah.
Okay, because you completely described my
I didn't realize it at the time.
I didn't. Well, I realized it, but see, I was coming from off of a whole nother relationship, and it was kind of like a rebound thing, I guess you might say. But what you described earlier was completely my ex-husband. The building you up and the tearing you down, and I lived through 13 years of hell with that man. And August 31st, that just passed, would have been my 26th year anniversary with him if I was still with him. I probably wouldn't even be alive. I'd probably be dead by now. But they are mental abusers. And I know there's ones that are physical abusers. I had the mental abuser. And mental abuse is sometimes a lot harder to get over than physical abuse. It took me a long time to deprogram myself from that 13 years of abuse that I went through. It was bad.
I agree, actually, because mine was both. He was mentally and physically abusive, and the mental part was much harder to undo than getting over the physical part. Yes, it's much harder to undo that work. Because, the one thing that I realized the first year after being separated was how much I was really not myself anymore. I was not myself.
It's demoralizing not being good enough at the end of the day, and that's how they will make you feel.
Everything I did, I took him into consideration first. How's he going to react if I do this? What's he going to say if I say this? What's he going to do if he finds out? It's like,
because he puts
realize everything that you do in life is just so that you don't trigger that monster.
Yeah. But what's interesting is towards the end of the relationship, when my head wasn't even in it anymore, I was done with it mentally. I figured out a way to rise above it, and he didn't affect me anymore. To watch that narcissist lose his power over me and the lengths that he went to try to hold on to that power is unbelievable. I can literally write a book on my divorce. That's how bad it was. He couldn't take losing control over me, and that I didn't care anymore about anything. I was just emotionally spent from the whole thing, and it was all his fault. But even the last day that I walked out of that house, he still stood there and said, "I can't believe you're leaving." I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, why would I even stay?
Right.
But the narcissist likes to hold on, still have control in some way. And I'll tell you what he did. He wouldn't let me have my dog's ashes, my dog, not his dog. It was my dog. I brought that dog home. It was my dog. He wouldn't let me have Taz's ashes, and he would not give me my great aunt's china closet that we had in the house that was given to me by my grandmother. Even my grandmother asked him for it back, and he wouldn't give it to her. It's still in his house today. That's just one little way that he's still. It's like, okay, well, I can control this. You can't have it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if you think about it too, that's the same way it works with the system, right? Oh, everybody's doing stuff because they're afraid of what is going to happen to them if this beast system finds out that they didn't do what they were supposed to do. If I didn't go get that license, or if I didn't pay that tax, or if I didn't fill out that form right, that's the motivation. It's the same motivation that's driving all these people to wear the mask, even though they know it's bullshit and they hate doing it. Right? It's because they're trying to please this narcissistic beast system that they don't have to. You know what I'm saying? They have to.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. To me, I just see such a parallel here. It's like once I got to the frame of mind where I was like, you know what? You're not the boss of me. You don't get to tell me what to do anymore. I'm not responsible for your feelings anymore. You can take responsibility for yourself, and I'm going to go over here and live my life the way I want to. And that's sort of like, it's pretty much the same thing that people have to look at the system as. It's like, you know, we don't have to be in a relationship with this beast system. We're not required.
Exactly. But, you know, I hate to bring it up or interrupt at all, but, you know, having our babies in hospitals brings us even more closer to being part of the beast system, because that's where they issue the birth certificates. And the second you get that, that's when you're a part of it from that point on. And it's really important for people to learn that, you know, don't have your baby in a hospital. If you are going to have your baby in a hospital, don't get shots and don't get a birth certificate. So that's going to cause some problems for you right out the bat, but you better know what you're talking about and realize that this child is yours. Because once you sign that birth certificate, if they don't like what you're doing in any sort of way, or your neighbor doesn't like you and wants to say some smack about you, they're going to come and take your kids, because they're not your kids. It's their kids. You sign them over. Yeah.
So
this is an awesome topic. I can go on.
Yeah. Anybody else want to chime in? Rose, Beth, I know you probably have a lot to say on this subject, because this is right up your alley, right?
It really is. It really is. Yeah. First of all, what you're talking about, that tendency to want people's approval, it is a distinct unconscious program that has a signature vibration. This is one that people can actually learn that they're in that program at that time, and they can decide, actually, I'm not running that program. I'm going to let that go, and I'm going to see what kind of clarity is on the other side, because it makes it seem like any original thought that you could have won't be there in the face of that programming. And even if you know better intellectually, you're still going to follow it, because the programs all promise survival. Mm-hmm. Right. So by not following the program, by not trying to get approval, it's like you're signing off on your death, all unconsciously. And I've had a lot of experience with this, and I've, it's interesting, because my son is 13. I was with his dad for a lot of years before that, since 2001, I believe. So a really long time, but it wasn't right up until now that I would have used the N-word. And it's part denial, not that I didn't see what I was going through, but I've been able to have a lot of breakthroughs by doing inner work, and literally changing someone from being in a place saying, I'm going to sue you, I'm going to leave your kid to hurt you, I'm going to, just like horrendous things, to saying like, oh, do you want the keys to my car? Here, could you look after my cats? Here's the key to my house. He literally did this about face without me doing anything except inner work. So it was like a miracle, and we've done pretty well ever since then, until COVID hits, right? And the half woke person goes all the way asleep, and now we're on opposite sides of the team. I'm pretty sure he's right now building a case against me and my sanity. And he registered my son for school without telling me. We had supposedly agreed to online learning, and instead he turned around and registered him to wear a mask at the school. And I only find out because I get a note from the school saying he was absent, and I'm like, huh?
Wow.
And it was another awakening, because here I was, probably wanting his approval and hoping against hope that I could trust him and that we could work together in parenting our child. And it was just like, no, Beth, wake up. This is the same thing you've always been dealing with, and get with it. Talk to that principal, talk to that teacher. Luckily they discovered that he had lied to me, so that at least there's some,
documentation.
Right. Actually, now speaking of documentation, I need to put a lot more things in writing, because I'm used to having conversations say faster, but I know the thing about the paper. And I had a major revelation. Is it a good time for it, or should we go around the circle for it first? I mean,
spit it out, woman.
Spit it out. So I was interviewing, and I think you were around. I interviewed Dean Gunnarsson the other night, and he went through a horrendous divorce. He hasn't seen his kids for 3 years. He's completely alienated, and his parents as well, by a narcissist woman. Her boyfriend actually beat him up and told him to stay away and stay quiet, because he started speaking out against this, because it was such a horrendous situation. He had the guy arrested, so luckily they responded to stealing. Assault, but they're not responding to the fact that his kids have been stolen, right? So is, like you say, the beast, right? It is institutionalized to take the children away from at least one parent. And so after I interviewed him, I watched it from top to bottom. There was something that really blasted out. It's the first time I had ever spoke about my situation, right? Because for the most part, everybody is hiding in shame. They're in this situation. They feel like it's their fault for some reason. It's very strange when your kid won't see you or won't see you very often. And, so I'm starting to talk about this, and I feel like maybe I've lost, because when you deal with a narcissist, you can't win.
Yeah.
Right. Like, that's more or less, you can't argue with them. You can't convince them. You can't change their psychoses.
That's right.
You can do the inner work, and you can change your picture through energy like that I know. And I'm still working on that for this next level. But in the meantime, is there something we can do through all of the common law that we've been learning to start creating people's courts for families and get them out of the legal bills and paying the courts and the judges to ruin their lives and their children?
Yeah.
Well, first they have to get educated on the capital name and realize that that's not them.
Exactly.
You know,
That's
there's a lot that has to be processed and understood and understood before that they can move on with this process. When you're dealing with the government and all that crap like that, when you're dealing with your everyday narcissists and stuff, the only thing I could suggest at that point. Yeah.
I'll just finish one thought is that, we're all stuck, brainwashed, thinking we're working on our own problems and trying to fix our own lives, but it's actually not the hero's journey, which is what we're all called to do. And I found it so liberating to stop trying to work on my problem and realize, okay, there's a bigger systemic problem. How can I now go to work for others? Even just telling my story and catching somebody at an early stage, seeing it coming, what could they do differently now before they get into a whole lot of trouble with that? So that's where I found so much freedom in the last few days.
Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah.
Maybe I can't change my situation. Maybe I can, but and now I want to help others and make this all worthwhile that I went through all these years of BS.
So my ex-husband works with my son. See, my son lives down there with him. He's 27 years old, but they work together. And his dad is still a narcissist, so he's dealing with the narcissist now. And what he did was my son was told he had to wear a mask in this particular site where they were working at. And it was a short, like maybe an hour or two they were going to be there. But Ryan refused. And he's like, said, I'll sit off to the side for an hour. If you don't need me, I'll sit over here or whatever. His dad was working with him. So his dad's like, what the fuck are you doing? Put the goddamn mask on. Why are you embarrassing me? Just do what you're told and blah, blah, blah. Suddenly calls me up. My ex-husband calls me up and tells me that Ryan is the way he is because of all the things I've taught him. He's going to wind up dead. It's going to be all my fault. He doesn't have a normal life like other young men have. They're all getting married and having kids and doing whatever with their lives. And Ryan is kind of like a square peg in the world. It's hard to find somebody who's like-minded like you at that age, or even he's known this shit since he was 12. Okay. So this has been a long journey of him being a square peg in society. He just doesn't fit in like most of us feel most of the time. It's hard to find somebody to conversate with her, but for his father to come and say to me that he's the way he is and he doesn't, you got to do it. You got to obey the laws and all this stuff. And Ryan's always, he knows everything that I know, the capital name, the courts, everything. He's learned it all. So he's always fighting against it. And his dad just wants him to conform. But now it's my fault. He's like, he's going to wind up dead because of you and all that. He's going to be wind up back in jail and all this stuff. And I'm just like, are you fucking kidding me? I said, if I was there, I'd be doing the same exact thing he's doing. He's standing up for his rights. If he doesn't stand up for his rights, nobody else will. And, basically after that, I just hung up on him because I don't need to hear anything else he has to say because he doesn't have that power over me anymore. So,
and yet he's still trying. He's still trying to blame everything wrong on you to make you feel not good enough that if you would have done things differently.
Absolutely.
I think there's a little bit of narcissist in everybody, and I think there's a little bit of empath in everybody.
Totally.
And
in fact, they're the same
some
thing.
people have it stronger than others, but I also really think that narcissists are drawn to empaths. I think it's like a candle to a flame, and
it has to be.
There's a couple. No, it is. It's there, and there's reasons for it. There's because you know what, your narcissist. I don't know how to put what I'm thinking into words correctly, but they're here to make a choice too, and they're making a tough choice, but feeding their demons feels good to them.
Yeah.
And
They
it's
like
almost like if you put them with an empath, it's what direction, which path are they going to take? The empath thinks as hopes. They're drawn to them in a way too. I think they know that they can save them in some way to make the right paths or the right choices. They're drawn to the light. They're drawn to the goodness, like to a flame. But it can be a very, very destructive relationship. It could also be a positive relationship, but again, the empath doesn't have the power to make it all by herself or all by himself a powerful relationship.
Well, that's the problem is with the narcissist and an empath is the narcissist is always taking and taking and taking and never really giving.
I think when a person is being a narcissist,
they tell you they are, and they say, look at all this stuff I gave you, but really it was nothing of substance. It was just like they gave you something that they can stand to do without, so that they can keep taking what is really important from you, but they don't have to invest themselves the same way that you do.
But they're trying to, they feel you're stronger than they are in a way, and they're trying to bring you down so they feel better.
Well, see, this is why I was making the parallel between, the system that we're all living under, and when on a smaller scale, the narcissist finds an empath, right? And then that whole thing goes on, because in the system, it's like, look at what they do to the children. Right away, they're sending them to school. Okay, first of all, they pump them full of poison, which does God knows what to your physiology, your pineal gland,
messes up your channels,
your development, whatever. God knows what that does. I think they know, but we don't know. Okay, so God knows what that does, right? They'd start you off by doing that. Then they put you in these schools and they start, feeding you information. They sit you in a desk, and it's very militant, if you think about it, the way that they do the schooling. And they have a set curriculum, and they tell you things, and you have to repeat it back, and you have to pass a certain test. And if you look look back at your own education, how much stuff did you learn in school? Think back about the thousands and thousands of hours that you spent in public school system? How much of that bullshit actually serves you in life?
Yeah. Other than reading and writing and a little bit of math, not much, because his story's all a lie. Most of the science is bullshit. And everything else is still lie. Yeah.
You can learn math. Math is good. Learning to read and write is good. But even that, even reading and writing, thousands of years ago, however long ago, whatever, they made this English language, which is like some bastard language of all these other languages. It's to me, it's like, this is a witchcraft language. It's a language meant to cast spells. All these words have meanings. It's super easy to deceive people using the English language because of these double meanings. And so, and then not only that, but they're instilling from the very beginning that narcissistic and that empath relationship, right? Because the children are in the school. And this is actually something that I really noticed, because I recently took my children out of public school and I started homeschooling them. And I cannot tell you what 1 week of difference has made in those children, separating them from that system.
Wow.
Because they feel so like, I have to do this, I have to get this done, like they have pressure and stress on them.
Yeah.
They're freaking kids. Who needs to be stressed out like that when you're a child? I mean, it's ridiculous. So anyway, so just taking them off of that, they got more creative in 1 week, more creative, more imaginative, more inquisitive, wanted to go outside more in 1 week from separating them from that system.
Amazing.
It blows my mind. But anyway, so that's what they have. If you think about school, that's what it is. The whole time you're trying to get that good grade. You're trying to get that approval from your teacher. It's not really so much about learning. It's about getting approval, right?
Yeah.
Because the shit doesn't mean anything. Doesn't serve you in life. It's about you needing to get approval from that narcissist beast system, and they train you to do it your whole life until they get you out. Then you go into the workforce, and it's the same thing. You got to pay your taxes. You got to get your license. You got to register your car.
Yeah.
You have to
and you're not
please
taught what you're not meant to know.
Mhm.
You're not taught what you're not meant to know.
And so, to me, being subjected to growing up in this beast system, it produces narcissists. It's a narcissist system that by design produces narcissists on an unbelievable scale. This is what I think.
It produces both the empath and the narcissist. In fact, they come as a
Right.
pair. You can't have one without the other.
Excellent point. You're right.
And it
Right.
was even, I can't remember who said it, but they said that in fact, the empath and the narcissist are the same. It's just opposite ends of the spectrum.
Yes.
So it's exactly
Yeah.
the same energy.
And
So-
putting these children
so
through this system,
on that-
filtering them out and pushing you one way this way or one way that way. I mean, obviously there's going to be
Exactly.
exceptions. It's not everybody's going to fall right in there, but and then you come out the other end, and then you have mass divorce rates, families that can't stay together, children that grow up in broken homes, abuse.
And on that note, sort of combining what your point, Karen, about the system with what Beth said. Okay, so what we know about narcissism is that, okay, it definitely, the system absolutely 100% breeds and appeals to those who have a tendency to be narcissistic. Every single thing it does. It's all about, and they use, if we know where it comes from, not just everyone thinks just narcissistic is egoic. Yes, they are. But what trauma-based narcissism is different. And obviously that's what the system has worked on by traumatizing the people. Because once you first traumatize them, then you appeal to their need to be narcissistic. And they are two sides of the same coin, Beth, in that I actually kind of believe in this, that, wow, you're really flexible, Rose. Doing a good job on the shoulders. I see.
I want to do that too.
But anyway, really quick, I just make that point. So they are two, when you're talking about trauma-based narcissism and the empath, I don't like the labels, but they're two sides of the same coin, meaning they may have suffered the same sort of, not necessarily abuse. They may have the same types of deeply sensitive types where a lot of the traumatized narcissist was actually born extremely empathic and sensitive. So they develop the narcissistic shell when they become traumatized. But unlike the so-called empath, the empath will go more into a deeply hurt sort of place where the narcissist will go towards the placing the shell of narcissistic, the ego around them. And so they develop a false self. And, they're being, the system appeals to them because they have more of a tendency to take on, do whatever they say, wear the mask because you're helping other people, for instance. Donate to this massive organization because that shows that you care about people, where the empath is more deeply connected, intuitive, more right brain in some ways, like they need to do what their soul really feels they need to do, which means they're probably not going to donate to that organization, but they may donate in their own way. Getting back to that really quick, I had a point about what Beth said. Okay, so the inner work, the reason that's important is because, like Jen said, it feels so good. When you get to that point, it's very hard to get to. That point where you realize that they don't affect you anymore. And since they only function on their schemas and their manipulation, they've learned how to manipulate. That's the only way they know how. So if you try to talk to them, I mean, you turn and they no longer affect you, they literally do not know what to do. They'll be lost and they'll keep trying to pull you back, but you just as that's happening, you're growing and you're growing because you have the capability to grow while they do not. So the last point I'm going to make about the system being tied in, like Karen said, is that
this can help us in a lot of ways to understand why we can't talk to people anymore that seem to just completely follow the rules. Like when we try to talk to them about something, they can't, they don't have empathy, so they can't hear what you're saying. They can only read the scripts and follow along. Well, I wear the mask because I'm protecting other people. But once the inner work is done, it's very, very hard to get there. But once you get to that point, you realize that these people who may be dangerous to you in so many ways, and you're always going, why do I keep running into these people? Well, obviously, because you're doing something. But once you realize that you're no longer a magnet for them, it's that simple. You can actually communicate with them. You can have them as friends and bosses, and not necessarily a relationship, but you can actually have them and find that they are actually not dangerous to you anymore. They might be kind of entertaining.
Well,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like I said before, not all narcissists are abusive. They're not.
It's a really good point, Steffi, because that's the thing that, I know someone in the Mandela effect is going to correct me on this, but the lion lays down with Jesus, right? Jesus has nothing but love. And even the most dangerous lion is not going to attack him. So I totally am down with what you just said.
Absolutely.
That was a showstopper. Should I answer that question, by the way, that came up? Someone asked about psychosis.
Oh, yeah. Someone was asking about what you meant by psychoses.
Right. And, I think I use that word literally just as an abbreviation so that I don't have to describe the whole dynamic of what a narcissist does: gaslighting, lying, sneaking around, turning one against the other, manipulating. So I just threw in that word psychoses, but it's not an official diagnosis. And it is sort of sad that we even use those abbreviations, because people do get labeled that way. And it might mean you're really smart and spiritual and sensitive. That's what, our beast system can call that a disorder. So I don't know.
That's what I think happens to people. The system breaks them, and then they just don't work right. I think that's what it is. Like, because I grew up in the San Francisco Bay Area, and there was a lot of people, a lot of homeless there. And, there was one guy in Redwood City that when we were in high school, all the high schoolers knew him because he was this homeless dude, and his name was Roger, and he used to wear a football helmet and sweep the grass in the middle. I mean, it was just ridiculous. But it's like, well, what happened to that guy? Well, when I see that, it's like people go, oh, he's fucking crazy, or he's on drugs, or whatever. What happened is the beast system broke that one, and they're not functioning anymore. That's what happened. I mean, in my opinion, maybe they did make poor choices, but they're living in a false reality and they don't know that they're living in a false reality, right? But on a subconscious level, everybody has to know that something isn't right, that we're living in some sort of false reality. I don't care who you are. If you have a heart, you will know on some level. It's probably, some people will probably, it's buried so deep that I don't know that it could ever come to the surface. Some people are just too programmed. They're too far gone. They fell for it, But then if you just a little bit are paying attention, I think you could figure it out. You would know on some level, because then this goes back to the heart field and your toroidal field. Everybody's heart has an electromagnetic field, and it extends around your body about 6 feet. And that's how you pick up and receive and send information subconsciously through the ether. I'm 100% convinced that that's how it works. There's different scientific studies that show evidence that that's how it works. So obviously that can't be proven. But for me, that's how it is. That's how you send and receive information. It's in and out, that motion, infinitely going. Excuse me, I just hit my own hat. But it's infinitely going around and around. That toroidal field, that's infinity right there, is the toroid. It's always there. It's omnipresent. It is the thing that drives this universe. It's how we get information from the ether. It's just how information propagates. If you cut that toroid in half, what do you see? You see that figure 8. That's the infinity sign. That's what it is. And it's always in motion. And whether people realize it or not, they're sending out information and they're picking up information.
And
Exactly.
another thing you realize.
The tension, that's how that's working. You feel that because your heart field is picking up that information first, and then it's telling your brain. Everybody thinks your brain talks to your, you get information from your eyes, your ears, and you go to your brain first. No. First it goes to your heart, and your heart tells your brain.
Yeah.
It's not the other way around. Your heart has a brain too, by the way, and so does your gut. You got 3 brains: brain in your head, brain in your heart, and a brain in your gut. But they don't.
Another thing one other point I wanted to make about that is the narcissist, because they have learned to develop that shell and all their behavior patterns. So they only know, there's a reason why they're attracted to you, because you are not going to notice that their false self, and they're going to be able to completely, there's little subtle ways in the beginning that they maybe even subconsciously know that you are going to, they didn't necessarily practice it, but they did become experts at what they do, because they actually say, so the reason they're so effective is they develop that false sense of self from birth. They play it over and over. So they're basically acting. So they're going to completely annihilate you because you don't know how to act that game. But what happens when you turn it around, like Jen did, you turn it around and they no longer affect you. This is why they have no idea what to do, because you have a heart and you have a soul and you have an authentic self. They don't have an authentic self. So they do not know, literally, there's no way for them to communicate with you once you do not play that, you don't get wrapped up in their system. So they have to go elsewhere. There's nothing else for them to do. They just go and look for the next ones, which is why they may put you through hell. They may beat you down and all this stuff, but you're always going to build yourself back up if you can get that inner work. It really is just inner work and letting go of your attacking yourself. You can't do inner work and heal the inner self until you let go of punishing yourself for why, you just look at it and you're the observer and you let it happen, like that inner work, let that come out of you and let it flow. There's no reason to feel bad about what happened, because what human being is ever going to know that somebody would do that to them? It's not your fault for not knowing that. You would never do that to someone, so how would you know what their plan is?
Yeah. I agree 100%.
And you're when you enter into a relationship, you're supposed to be in a relationship when that person's supposed to care about you. They're supposed to protect you. They're supposed to look out for you and care about your well-being, right? Which is what they tell you they do, but ultimately, really, they don't. They're just saying they do to get you to do what they want you to do.
Karen, you saying that you just saying that one statement reminded me of the very first time I found that out with my ex-husband. I only knew him 3 months before we got married. He was very forward about getting married quickly and getting me pregnant quickly. That should have been a sign right there. But I remember I married him in August, and by like November I had the flu or something. And whenever I get sick, I get really sick because I've always had issues ever since I was a baby. I had pneumonia and all that stuff. So I just am more susceptible to catching stuff, which I've done really good this year, by the way. So I was really sick, and we were already married and everything. And I just kind of assumed, I guess, that because I was so sick, he was going to take care of me, kind of like my mother would take care of me when I was homesick or whatever. So he comes home. First I called him and asked him if he could bring home some soup or something. Comes home, puts the can of soup on the table, and turns around and walks back out. Like, I couldn't even get up off the couch to do anything. I was so weak. And he didn't even cook this. He just went back out.
Wow.
Are you kidding me? I'm dying over here. I've only been married 4 months.
Yeah, I have a quick story that the second time I was diagnosed with cancer, I was with this guy, and I said something like, well, this is happening now. All he could say was he had to go to the lake to cut the grass. He literally couldn't respond to anything. He actually only, a lot of my family came to the hospital when I was there getting treatments. He came one time and he sat behind a newspaper. Literally there was a newspaper between him and I. Again, any signs I shouldn't have my baby with this guy. But he did relentlessly pursue me. Every single time I broke up with him, there was a bunch of them. And he just kept coming and saying, we're the same. I know. Yeah. He would say, we're the same. We want the same thing. Oh, yes, I want to have a baby, but I'm pretty sure you won't be able to get pregnant because of the chemo. So I'm just going to lie, and then deny I ever said that. And it was just like one running nightmare after the other. But it honestly, it ultimately drove me to a place where I was so boxed into a situation that I had to do something drastic, like let go of my inner programming. Right? Because otherwise it's a can't win situation, and it's a can't win program. And that's what we face with this beast, right? It brings up that no matter what I do, if I work with the legal system, I'm screwed. If I pull out of the legal system, I'm screwed. If I, fight the school, I'm screwed. If I don't fight the school, I'm screwed. It's got that constant actually inspiration for me. Like every time I notice it, it's like, oh, there's that program. I'll be letting that one go this next layer.
Yeah, exactly. It definitely takes time to mentally even come to terms with the fact that you have more power than you've been told your whole life. You don't have to participate in these things.
And they fear the day you figure that out.
Yes, they do.
Yes, they do.
They do. They do fear that. Hence,
COVID-19.
Right? They're losing their grip, and they said, we got to tighten that grip and make sure these people know they need us. They need us. They can't live without us. We're going to protect them. We're going to keep you safe.
Mm-hmm. We have the vaccine.
Right?
I've never felt more unsafe than those guys looking after us.
1 second.
So Rose, you're quiet. Do you have anything to say about hanging out with a narcissist or psychopath or?
I'm sorry.
I think she's
Rose, you're on mute.
Sorry. Yeah, I totally agree with everything that you're saying. I can totally relate to every aspect of this. I love the comparison to the beast system. I think it's an one-to-one allegory, especially with what happened to me and my ex-husband. I found myself into the situation after having such a successful life that I thought, wow, I fucked up. Now I'm in a situation, I kind of made my bed to sleep in it. I thought that it was totally healthy for me to try to find the positive attributes of my situation. And then I would just kind of like tell myself, oh, okay, this is the situation right now. But look at all of these other souls around me in this fucked up apartment building and all these weird characters. And I think, okay, well, maybe my life purpose right now is to make all these other people feel good. Like Andy, the shot caller who got out of prison and had 7 kids and became a Jehovah's Witness. Maybe I'm supposed to teach all of them how to box and do their multiplication tables. And Toothless, the guy on Section 8 who pretends to be homeless on the 405 exit, maybe I'm supposed to make him feel good because no one's ever loved him before. And like the guy who runs the ladies who sell the corn on the street and speaking Spanish to them and making them laugh, and like riding my blacked out scooter from Food for Less that some people stole from me to buy single cigarettes, and just making people laugh. And I just thought, like, that is my purpose right now, because I fucked up and my life has been reduced to this little microcosm of a life, and I was just trying to deal with the situation. And it was like a science experiment trying to change someone that could not be changed. And no matter what I said, I would always be like, all right, this is where I put all of my education on psychology and all of my empathy and my good vibes to try and see if I can do this alchemical transformation on this person's soul who has so much hatred and so much psychosis and the brain damage and all of this insanity. And it would get to the point where I would think that I would put together like the perfect string of words to communicate like pure unconditional love and understanding. And he would just be like, you're a fucking demon, fuck you, you fucking cunt, shut up your whore mouth, and it's just like, oh, like this is funny. And I'm like, there's just nothing that could possibly be done. It was so psycho. But I just thought, like, this is my situation and I have to make the best of it because I don't know how I could possibly get out of it, you know? And so then it got to the point where the biggest gift was realizing that my life was literally in danger. And I'm so sorry, I've like told the story a million times, but when there was like a glass object in his hand and I was like, oh crap, he's gonna freaking like accidentally like slit my wrist because he keeps trying to hit me with this broken pipe. And so then I was like, something hit me deep into my soul. And I was like, it's immoral for me not to defend myself. I need to protect myself. And I see that. So like he basically just divorced me by committing the violence. And it just made everything so easy, like the adrenaline rush. And then I realized like I had complete power. I wasn't stuck in my situation. And just like my life had been in turmoil before, which got me into that situation, I had to do it again. You know, I had to get out. And it was going to suck and it was going to be more changes and more inconvenience. And even though I had become accustomed to the insanity and I was like, I thought I was ready to just be in it until I died, there was something in me that was like, I am a human being and I need to realize who I am and realize my full potential and that my life isn't over, you know? And so that realization is what I think we all need to come to in the system, is that even though we may be like, well, this is how the government is, this is how society works, humanity fucked up by getting ourselves into this position, so we just got to live with it and just make the best of it. No, that is not acceptable. We need to rise above it, and we need to go through the uncomfortable things in order to realize our true potential, because especially with all of this here today and everyone in the chat and this amazing community, there is so much that all of us can accomplish with all of our unique gifts and things to offer. And so we need to be open to that uncomfortable thing and trying to help each other in the best way that we can. But so, I mean, I guess my point is that even when I made that decision and got out of it and went and I called my doctor and told him what happened and went to the hospital and realized like I didn't really have anywhere to go again, I was in the nursing home for like a month, and then my health started deteriorating because it was so dirty there, it was so unhealthy there, and it was such a sadistic, disgusting place, and I was getting massive infections and things on my skin. So I went back to him. You know what I mean? And so I was just that stereotypical, oh my gosh, I can't believe that idiot goes back into that situation. Because, we had a talk and we realized that, things were going to be different. And I just had to just live with him until, 1 month, 30 days just before I can get out. I know. I thought, okay, well, we're not together anymore. We're not together now, we're just living together as friends and just dealing with each other for 30 days until I can find another situation. But it just got so much worse. And I just thought, oh my gosh, why did I even believe that it would be even possible to trust this situation? So the same thing happened all over again. It was just this big thing. And Jen, I think that it was you that said this, or maybe I'm sorry if it was someone else, but you said something like they're like, can't believe that you're leaving, and I was actually getting my stuff. I had left my stuff the first time, but I had a friend and he saw me just going back and forth with clothing and different things of mine and my computer. But then when he saw me carrying my junior high yearbook, he's like, that bitch is fucking leaving me. How the fuck? It's not the end of September yet. You were supposed to be here. And I'm like, what is it about the yearbook that made him realize that I was actually freaking serious? And then I had these painted Converse shoes. But yeah, and so he just couldn't believe it. And I had to get into this whole thing. And I took his pills and I dropped them on the floor in front of his wheelchair so that he would, because I knew he wouldn't roll over them. So that's how I got out.
That's
awesome. Oh my God, strategy.
I love it. Yeah.
Whoa.
You drew that line and he didn't cross it.
Exactly. I know.
Another thing you could have done is you could have grabbed a broomstick and stuck it in his wheelchair wheels.
Yeah, that too.
I know. I
did it first.
Oh my God.
But listen,
the whole situation was funny.
I have to tell you, I woke up in 2005 to 9/11, and that began my journey that led me to sitting right here with you guys. But But I divorced my ex-husband in July of 2005. I had moved out in June. So by July, it was official on the record. And I would never have been able to wake up to what I woke up to while I was with him. It was like once I shut that part of my life down and got rid of him out of my life, it's like something opened up in me, and all this information started coming to me. And it was like literally within a 4-month span of being divorced from him that I woke up to 9/11 and gone on this journey. And I just feel like in hindsight, when I look back on my life, I feel like I had to go through that for some reason. I'm not the kind of person that goes back to somebody once I leave them. If you're my ex, you're staying my ex. I don't go backwards. I always go forward. But yeah, looking back now, I seem like I would have never been able to have taken the journey that I've taken if I would have stayed with him. I would have never wound up where I am now. And this is where I'm supposed to be. I totally feel like I'm on my purpose ever since I've left him and gotten on with my life and just, put that all behind me, which till this day, if I told him I'm leaving my husband and I'm going to come back to him, he'd literally throw the girl out that he's with right now and like drive up here and pick me up probably. And I've been divorced from him for 15 years, 16 years. But this is like, this is how a narcissist works. They'll do anything to get their hooks back into you. And they will tell you that they've changed, they've flipped over a new forest, everything's good and everything like that, but they're still the same old fucking person. And give it a couple of months of living with that person again, and you'll be right back to where you were.
Yep.
It's amazing people who are willing to lie their way through life, to strategize, to maneuver, to just say the thing, right? Because we had a good, 7 years of what seemed to be peace and amicability, and we could exchange and we could change plans. You see so many families that you can't do anything off schedule. We were able to, I was looking after his cats, he's looking after my cats when we take trips. It was so copacetic. But I was lulled into a place thinking he had changed. And, we would sit down for heart to hearts. And especially when COVID hit, I'm going like, okay, I'm going to buy a gun, and I need a generator, and I need a big freezer to store a year's worth of food. And I'm saying all this to him, and he's going, oh yeah, that's right, you do. But meanwhile, he's making notes for the psychologist to assess me, right? So, and he doesn't reveal that he thinks I'm a lunatic until we're in the midst of some kind of blow up, and then all of this shit will fly. What he really thinks, like even turning around and talking to my family, who is now, I'm not in their good books. Now he's colluding with them.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
that's his way of isolating you. He's isolating you there. You can be surrounded by people, but he'll have them all on his side. They think he's the greatest thing since sliced bread. He's so super nice. Of course, you know how he really is. And then you find yourself isolated. If my grandmother and my mom couldn't even understand why I was leaving him. I would tell them what he would do to me, and they're like, what? Or what did you do to deserve that or something? And I'm like, I didn't do anything.
Exactly. My mom made me promise. Yeah, my mom made me promise when my son was born to head on over to that birth certificate place and put my name on his. Now, I of course regret the birth certificate, but at least he has my last name for whatever that could be worth. But she knew. She was like, okay, you're not in a good position here. Get the leg up. But on her deathbed, she basically said that all of her daughters ruined the chance to be with the perfect guy. And so she was still in this illusion, like, Mom, you don't understand what I've been going through, even though you yourself recommended I don't give my kid his name. Yeah. So it was, I think, to say, Rose, that, when you go back, it's not unusual, right? Like I keep forgetting, and now I'm fully lucid again, and I'm not going to trust him. But am I going to get seduced again into that place, right? And when
what's really, I hear myself.
Oops, so I was going to say what this
now
brings up as far as the question, am I stepping on, is can people really change? I think they can. I think they have
not the narcissist.
Yeah, the narcissist never change.
A narcissist, if they change, guess what? They would no longer be a narcissist.
Yeah.
So is it a behavior they choose, or is it behavior that they can't because I think they do choose the behavior. I think they choose it to try to make themselves feel important and try to make themselves empowered. But what if they find out that it doesn't work? I mean, what if they find out that hurting somebody doesn't make them better and doesn't make them happy? What if they actually, if it clicks into their brain, can they? I'm just
No.
curious.
I don't think it
They-
clicks into
No?
their brain.
If they find
I don't
out
think it
that
clicks
it's
into
not
their
working,
brain.
So there's
if they
no
find
hope.
out that it's
I
not working on one
There's no
person, then
hope.
they need to go find the person that it's working on. They aren't able to change their behavior without some really, really extensive, deep work, which they're just not willing to do because they don't even realize that they have a problem for the most part.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
they'll just like, I can only speak for this particular specimen that I was with, but I mean, once I was out of the picture, he didn't care. He's fine being alone, and then every like little thing is like he's very stuck in his world, and so anyone who comes in sphere of influence, he'll target and he'll just use them up until they realize that he's fucking evil, and then they get the fuck away, and then he's on to the next. So he's perfectly fine being alone until someone comes within that sphere of influence. And the thing that hurt the most for me is being associated with it, because I would be with him and it didn't matter how nice I was and how kind I was to the people around me. Just everybody knew, like in that half-mile radius, that like it was crazy, like the most odd couple you can possibly imagine. But when he would be extremely cruel and hostile and messed up to every living being around him, and like say things that weren't just mean but actually stupid, like calling people the wrong racial slur. Like he'd call the racial slur for a black person to a white person, and like the racial slur for a Mexican person to a black person, because he was like so brain damaged, but there was so much hatred that things would just come out. So it would be funny if people didn't feel the intense evil energy. And also with his wheelchair, he'd be constantly like vandalizing shit, like running into property and breaking shit. It was just so insane. And so being next to it and being associated with it and seeing that was going to happen and knowing that it was always inevitable whenever we went somewhere, I felt like I was almost like consenting to it just by my sheer existence. And I think that's also an alloy to the beast system, because we know all of the evil that it does, and that when we are a part of it, we're consenting to it. And so I felt like it was really like making my soul disintegrate, because I was truly living in contradiction, because I could talk about what I believed and what I thought about how the world should be, and my feelings about anarchy and my feelings about like objective morality. But then being next to this dude, it's like, whether I liked it or not, it's like mafia wife syndrome, because at the end of the day, we were both going home to the same apartment and like coexisting together. And it was so horrible that like breaking free from it, it was like I finally got to remember that I don't consent to it, and that I was never going to allow myself to live in that kind of contradiction again, no matter what.
Mm-hmm. Amazing. There's so many layers to it. I was with somebody for not as many years, and there were several times when I woke up and went, I don't think this is all right. And then I would just go back to sleep, and then I'd pop up again with the same realization. And maybe the 6th or 8th time I popped up, and it's like, I'm not going back to sleep. This is over. This is done. But it took so many tries.
Yeah, they seem so small to me now. After I left my ex-husband, and I see him, if I ever have to deal with him or whatever, he seems so small to me now. It's like, I can't believe I let this person have that kind of control over my mental. He was governing my mental state, is what he was doing. Mm-hmm. I came from a childhood where I saw physical abuse a lot in my childhood. My mom did not pick very good people to be around us as her boyfriends and stuff. So I saw a lot of physical abuse. I had no idea what mental abuse was, and I had no idea what I was walking into with him. He targeted me right from day one. He was friends with my ex, which is my oldest son's father. He saw me over there dropping Christopher off to his dad. He was friends with him, and he's like, "Who's that? That's my baby's mama." Next thing I know, he just seemed to show up everywhere I was with the people I was hanging out with and stuff. And he had a target on me, and he wasn't letting go until he got me. And he's very good looking. This is in the 90s, 1992. So he was kind of like, it looked exactly like Kevin Costner. All the women loved him. He was cheating on me from day one. Girls were calling the house that didn't even know he was married yet and stuff, because we only knew each other 3 months before we got married. Really, really good looking guy. And you wouldn't even believe that he'd do the things that he did, but he did. He did a lot of really horrible things to me.
That's actually very similar to my ex. From the outside in, everybody thought we had this perfect life because he had a really good job, and then we, had a home, and I was having children, and from the outside it looked very good.
Yeah.
But it's a very different story on the inside.
Absolutely. Very different.
It was like a nightmare inside the house, and there were times when I kept telling him, look, if you don't stop this, I'm going to leave, like, I'm sorry. And I'm like, I got to the point where it's like, you know what? I don't care if you're sorry. You need to stop doing it, or I'm not going to be here,
Yeah.
And I did get to that point where I was like, okay, I'm checked out. Like, it's funny because, like, I was in this relationship for so long and years and years, and it's like, when you're talking about how they'll lull you into a sense of like they're changing, like there'd be months would go by when nothing would happen. It'd be like almost a year. It would never go one full year, but it'd be like almost a year where nothing happened. And I'd think, oh, wow, maybe he really is, maybe he stopped. Right. And then boom, something would happen and I'd be on the ground again. So it's like, you're right. It doesn't ever change.
Yeah.
And they don't ever want to take responsibility for what they do. They're always making excuses. You made me do it. I wouldn't have done that if you didn't do that. And that's what I mean by them making you responsible for their feelings, and not only their feelings, their actions. How can a full grown adult 200 pound, 6 foot tall male turn and look at like 150 pound female and be like, you're the one who made me do whatever. I did that. You made me mad. And so that's why I did it. I did it because
that's exactly what I got. The first time I tried to leave him, he says, well, it was early on in the relationship. Clearly, I had just had my son Ryan, and he wasn't only a couple of months old, and I was gonna get my shit together and everything. I was like, "That's it, I've had it. I'm leaving." And I was just gonna only go around the corner to my mom's house because he lived 3 blocks within my whole family's radius. So it was like we were in the middle of everybody. I hadn't really nowhere to go to get away from him. But I start packing everything up. He goes outside with a fucking knife and slashed 2 of my tires. He goes, "You ain't fucking going anywhere now, are you?" And it was like that feeling of helplessness, or who are you going to call? Nobody's going to believe you or whatever. Or they just all loved him. My whole family loved him. It was just right up until my grandma passed away.
They would hold me hostage in my own house, tell me I couldn't take my cell phone, tell me I couldn't go anywhere, basically hold me hostage in my own house.
And he told me it was my fault that he slashed my tires, because if I wasn't going to try to leave, he wouldn't have slashed the tires. So it was my fault.
Right.
That's how it works.
I think one of the most dangerous things that you can deal with, is covert narcissist, because they come on very, very subtly. But I mean, like now I would 100%, I mean, there's signs to look for, a lot of people get wrapped up in this, they're mean. That's not what trauma-based narcissism is.
No.
It's a mental, it's a disability in many ways. And so there's little subtle things to look for, like lack of empathy. It shows up in many ways. Like lack of empathy can show up in just subtle conversations. So I can tell, like when I meet someone, like right away, that this person, it's in the way they communicate. But a discussion becomes word salad. Arguments become a pattern of just triggers and blow-ups, which make no sense and completely off the subject. So you can never ever get anywhere in those arguments. So these people will literally, and narcissist will chip away at you. The covert narcissist will just sort of make little suggestions, and that's why the family will always look at you and go, what's your problem? And because but once it's very hard with the covert narcissist. That's the worst, because they do seem like they're kind even to you.
I got an example. I'm sorry to interrupt, Steffi, but I got a perfect example for a covert narcissistic move, because after I broke up with my ex, and being in flat earth, I've talked to some different flat earth men. There are plenty of narcissists in the flat earth society, in the flat earth community, just so you know. But anyways, I'm not going to get into all that. But one thing that they would do is, Karen, I'd like you better if you didn't do so much live streams. You're really pretty. You shouldn't get any more tattoos because you're pretty just the way you are. If I talk about, like, if I say I want to get another tattoo, if I talk about getting a tattoo and somebody's dating me and they say, but you're pretty, you really don't need any more tattoos. That's their way of saying, I don't want you to get any more tattoos. You're going to do this to stay the way you are.
Yeah.
But that's not something that maybe not everybody would pick up on it. Oh, well, he says I'm pretty the way I am, but he's manipulating you. And this is the type of stuff that these covert narcissists do, right?
So
they try to buy you stuff, send you gifts, charm you. And then they say, well, you shouldn't do this. I'd like it if you didn't do this. Or I'd like you more if you didn't do that.
And it's the way.
I'd like you more if is such a weird thing to say to someone that you love.
I've heard him say it, and I'm like, I had somebody say that to me. I was like, who the fuck you're talking to, dude? Karen B, bitch. I'm in it for the long haul. I'm a flat earther, and I will not gonna stop. I'm not gonna shut up. I'm gonna do all this shit that you see me doing, how you found me. I'm gonna keep doing it. And
the covert narcissist
here, and I'm gonna keep doing it after you go. Bye.
They will. When they're chipping away at you, what they're doing is they're slowly but surely redefining you, turning you into someone else, and you'll become whatever they want you to be. You don't know that they're doing it. They do it in such a subtle way that you are slowly but surely becoming what they are creating out of you in subtle ways, and everyone around you will see it. And it takes you being, once you're away from them and people see your old self come back, and that reminds them, then they finally will realize it. But that's why it's just very dangerous. It's
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. When I broke up with my ex, the first year was me realizing that I was not myself anymore. The past decade, he had completely changed me into somebody else. And that person was fighting to get out.
And they do it not just by taking you down. It's the bringing you up and then taking you down, the bringing you up and taking you down. Like, oh, you're the best singer ever. You write the best songs. And then it's like, oh, like, what are you talking about spirituality? That's the stupidest thing I ever heard. And it's like, oh, I love yoga. I love this and that. Or you're so amazing. You're such a spiritual light. I'm reaching up towards your level. And then it's like, boom, that stuff is bullshit. You're being totally misled. And so it's that constant. If it was just all abuse, that would be very obvious. But when it's this shimmer, hook and flail kind of action, that's very confusing.
Yeah.
And the system does exactly the same thing. It's like, boom, here we hit you. Now we're going to turn around and we're going to make this program for you that everybody can get back to work and be safe doing that. But it's like, no, you smashed us and now you're pretending to love us. But see right through that bullshit.
Right? Like,
so the only thing that you can
do, right? COVID-19. And then they said,
best thing you can do
this package. We're going to send you money. It's going to be okay. We're printing trillions of dollars. We're going to pump it out.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah, someone was just asking if I'm coming to Flaptoberfest. I'm very sad to say no, I am not. And now Canada is in the process of closing its provincial borders. We're going the same direction Australia has. We can't even travel within our own country. Although I spent some time looking for some evidence of it, and they're being all vague. And every link sends you to another link that says it's going to send you to some link. Like, so they're not even. But I know people who haven't been able to get through the borders already. So Who knows?
This is absolutely ridiculous.
Yep, totally.
I like this
That's
comment.
what a narcissist does. They close the borders on you all the way around you. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
you're surrounded, you can't get out. You're isolated.
Exactly. Because they have no boundaries, they have to create borders.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, actually, this is a good point because we're already an hour in, and I don't know if you guys have to go yet, or hour and 15. But this reminds me. What do you do to overcome it? What have you done to overcome this stuff? Like Jen, you know, from what did you do? Right? It's just that inner work, right? Is how you get over allowing, because it's, you made a comment earlier, Jen, about how you were allowing your ex to have control over you. And I think that's what we do. We allow them to have control over us. And that's what we do with this B system. We allow it to have control over us. We allow it to have jurisdiction over us when really it does not.
Exactly.
The other thing is, Karen,
Mm-hmm.
when you live with a narcissist or you have that type of behavior, it's very, very easy to be a victim because in a way you are. But the worst thing that you can be is a victim because they win. I like what Queen of Swords wrote in the chat, that she took that name to deal with it. I think if you wanted to deal with it is first thing, don't fall into being a victim and find a different way to deal with what's going on, a different solution than stringing out the victim card. That's a hard thing. That's really easy to say. That's really easy to say and really hard to do, especially if there's love and other emotions involved. But I do think that narcissists read their energy on, again, hurting, and hurting makes a victim. And so by playing the victim and by, again, doing everything to like keep them well, keep them happy, keep them, you are playing a victim card and helping do it. So if you, again, it's an easy thing to say out loud, not so easy to do in person, but one thing you can do is get out of that.
It's not as easy. As someone who had to do it, it's not easy to do in real life.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because you've been so beaten down, and you just you get
especially when it's hardest.
I don't know what to do. Am I going to survive this?
Mm-hmm.
Is there a way out? How do I get out? Are people going to believe me? Because there's no police record. Because every time I tried to call the police, my phone was taken and I was kidnapped back into the house, or my car keys were stolen. So, is anybody going to believe me?
That is crazy. You just said that, Karen. I used to have a recurring dream after I divorced my ex-husband. And I even told my husband that I'm with now about it, because I've had it while I've been married to him. It was early on, right after the divorce. I would have this recurring dream that I was trapped in a house with my ex-husband. It wasn't our house, but he was there and he was sitting on the couch, and I kept looking around for my keys just to get out of there. I couldn't find my keys. And when I did find my keys, I'd go outside, my car wasn't there. And he'd just be sitting there on the couch, like reading something, like looking at me, like laughing, like as if he's
freaking me out right now, because I've had recurring dreams like that about my ex. I've had
it's so they were bad. I'd be like, oh my God, like wake me up, please.
They're so real. Like I'm standing here in the kitchen and he just walks in the house like everything's hunky dory, and I'm like, what are you doing in the house? Like I was like freaking out. Like, how do I get him out of the house? And I've had a few of those dreams. It's crazy that you say that. Wow. It's just freaking like there's nothing you could do. And he's not doing nothing bad is happening in the dream. It's just that he's there and there's nothing I can do. And that's the most horrific part.
And I can't get away from him. That was the thing. It wasn't like he's trying to restrain me or hold me back from leaving. He was just sitting there. But it's like he knew where my keys were, but he wouldn't tell me. And then I find my keys and I go to look for my car. My car's not there. Like he moved my car. You know what I mean? It was just like, and he did a lot of weird, shady stuff like that to me all the time. 13 years of hell with that one. But the thing that happened with me was going into it, I had no idea. He was super sweet, absolutely handsome. I mean, very charming and everything like that. It wasn't until about 4 months into the marriage, I started to realize things weren't what we had. Two different views of marriage. Okay. And I tried to leave him numerous times, but my family was so enamored by him and everything that every time I tried to go to my mom's or get away from him, he would come after me, and they would feel bad for him. He'd like cry to them and stuff. I love her. I don't know. I'm sorry, whatever. And, you know, they're like, just go home. Everything will be fine. And I'm like, you know, I got these 2 kids, you know, they're little. My son, Ryan, was a baby. So, and I had no job or nothing. It was literally, he was a breadwinner in the house. So I'd go home, you know, he'd be nice and everything would be good for a little while. And then things would start up again. And then I'd want to leave again. So the whole time I was in Philly, up until I moved to Florida, I mean, I was just basically corralled into this one area and I couldn't get out. I couldn't get away from him. I had nowhere to go. And I stayed and put up with it because of the kids. And eventually I allowed myself to get used to the abuse. I would say sorry all the time. I'm sorry. Like, I didn't even know. I'd be always asking him what's wrong and saying I'm sorry. So once I divorced him and I got married to my husband, I found myself doing that sometimes. Like, are you okay? What's wrong? Oh, I'm sorry. He's like, stop saying you're sorry. You don't have anything to be sorry about. And it took me a good year to deprogram myself from all that habit that I was in of worrying about him instead of focusing on me. And I really wasn't in a good mindset that whole 13 years raising my kids. I think I would have been a hell of a better mother if I never even entered into that relationship, because I was under a lot of stress for those 13 years. The kids were young. There was a lot going on. You know, they need a lot of attention, to young boys. And I was literally on the verge of one point wanting to kill myself. My mom's sitting there shoving Prozac down my throat saying, you're going to be okay. You know, just, I'm like, I can't get away from him. He's everywhere. Everybody knew him. He was very popular. He had a pool in the neighborhood. Nobody would believe me. He was cheating on me left and right. I couldn't prove it half the time, but he was. It's just bad.
Intense. I was going to say something about Cammie's comment about the victim, and this is a really good one because you actually are a victim in that situation, right? So that's a reality to face. But at the same time, if you carry the role and you walk unawakened as a victim archetype, then you're screwed, right? So you have to turn around and assume radical responsibility for the whole fucking thing. Mm-hmm. Even though it's his bad behavior and, you know, all kinds of things you can keep pointing out. But if you keep doing that, you're never going to get out of the situation because you'll never actually get empowered. And, you know, so that was the key. It's like, okay, well, and that's the name of my next book. And I've already started to write this stupid thing is that I did it. And not like, woohoo, I did it. It's like, no, I did it. Everything. Every little freaking bit of it.
It's true. It's true. That's one of the hardest things that I had to come to terms with, was that I did let it happen. Yeah. There were signs, I didn't see them, and that's the situation I ended up in because I wasn't aware. Or I didn't pay attention to the things that were bothering me. I didn't realize how much attention I should have paid to those things and what they would lead to. Mm-hmm. You know, because you never, it's like you say, you never expect someone to do the long troll on you to just tear you down like that over years and years and years. It's not something that you go into life expecting to happen or people do to you.
Nope.
Right?
Yeah. I was like, oh my gosh, he's expending so much energy. Like, doesn't he get tired of being so consistent with his hatred? And when I was
Rose.
Yeah.
We lost you, Rose.
Oh, you went quiet for a sec.
Oh. I definitely just was fascinated by his incessant consistency and how it never faltered. Like, he never got sick of being that way. But I fell into it. People are probably wondering, like, well, how did you even fall into that? And so the way that we met, I was in the hospital and I was so sick and I was so alone. And I was just trying to process the fact that I had totally screwed up my entire life. And I just had to hit, but that was not rock bottom, but I thought it was rock bottom at that point. And I saw him and I was like, he's making everybody laugh. Everybody in the hospital, he was making them laugh because he was so crazy. And I saw him pull out a buck knife on the nurse orderlies, and like it was so like it was such an adrenaline rush, and like he just was like commanding the room, and of course they took the knife away from him, but like I thought like even though he's so crazy and unpredictable, he's like making everybody laugh. And I just thought, okay, well, if I can just be with someone that can make me laugh until I die, then that is enough for me. But then it gets old really, really, really fast. And so when I finally got out of it, um, there was a lot of like shock that I had just been through that. And there was a ton of crying, and he was like, I don't know if I could like stress this enough. The brain damage was so severe. So I felt bad for him because just like that, a situation that he got accustomed to and his patterns like of the day, like um just he got used to like the lifestyle with me being his like property, and I was helping him with every aspect of his mental health. And so like for instance, he hated me so much that he bought a safe to put all of his stuff in, like his knife and his gun and his money, but he couldn't open it himself. So he had to ask me to open the safe that he got to keep his stuff from me. And then all of a sudden I'm gone. And so I'm like crying constantly because I'm like, oh my gosh, I just like abandoned this freaking retard. And he had to call me and be like, Rose, what's the combination to my safe? Can you come over and open it for me? And I'm like, I'm in Louisiana. I can't come and open the safe. And it was just, I just like constantly crying. And at one point, I'm like, maybe I should get him shipped out to Louisiana, like to some nursing home here. Like, I didn't know what the fuck to do. And it was just like, I kept talking to him on the phone. And it was just like, it was funny and insane. And like, I totally had to like I had to try to like refine the ability to like reorganize my life and like get all the things I needed, because at some point I was just like, I guess I'm just gonna get carried around now. Like it took me like a week to even buy a shower bench. Like it was hard for me to be like, all right, I'm gonna take responsibility now and get all the shit in order again, instead of just being like it was hard. It was hard, but and I'm still working on it. I'm still trying to rebuild and like try to like regain complete and utter independence.
Wow.
You know what I'll never forget is the day that I snapped out of it, and I just was spent, completely spent emotionally, being attached to this person and letting him abuse me mentally, and I just didn't care anymore. And it was the greatest feeling. And once he realized that, that's when he really started to lose it. That's when he was pulling the most dirtiest tricks you can imagine. When he realized he lost control and he saw that I was happy and I was moving forward, oh my gosh, guys, you wouldn't even believe the shit that he tried to do to me and my husband when we were dating and stuff. Unbelievable stuff.
Yeah, there's another time when he called me. There was a time when he called me and he's like, Rose, I met this woman and I just want to ask your permission to go into business with her. And I'm like, yeah, what? You have my permission to go into business. Like, we're going to start a garden company, but we want to call it Rose's Garden. Is that okay with you? And I'm like, why? Like, I don't understand it. And I think it was just making shit up. But the one thing I will never know is what the hell was going on in that head. I mean, I really, really wish I could fucking figure it out and just like see the brain neurons.
You know what was going on is that man has multiple demons attached to him, and he likes them. They're his friends, and he's
got to feed them.
He's dead now. Yeah. Mm-hmm. He's gone now, so that's why I'll never know.
That's what's going on.
The other trap is you're trying to make sense of something that makes no sense. They actually don't make sense. There's nothing yet. No, I write about this in my book too. It's an empty, vacuous reason to be. And that's why they're so hard to figure out, because there ain't nothing to figure out.
There is nothing in trouble trying to wrap your head around it. You shouldn't even.
Save you a lot of time and energy.
That's so frustrating for me.
Look, I'm going to make another
in the world, usually things can be figured out, but that cannot be figured out. Like most things can be known, but that is a rough one. Just knowing that there's no sense whatsoever. It doesn't make any sense.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's freeing though, right? Because then you can stop working on it. There's no answer. But that's
There
why
is
it's so painful. It means you have to go through the pain of it.
But this is the similarities between, you know, breaking up with your narcissist and breaking up with the beast system, right? You have to remember who you are, first of all. Remember that you're a powerful, divine, spark containing being, right? And you have to remember too that they don't have control over you, right? They don't have jurisdiction over you. There's no way that they have any right to tell you what to do or anything, right? But people think they have to. Where was I going with this?
Hashtag I know who I
You're
am.
going to the point that be careful.
Ask for permission.
We choose our
you
own
don't
path.
have the permission. You don't have to
it's your path.
participate in the beast system, right? You don't have to be in the relationship with the narcissist. You're not required to be there. It's not your responsibility to fix that person, be it male or female, because I see men in here talking, oh, women can do it too. Yes, women can do it too. We all know that. But there's 6 women on here. We all happen to be heterosexual women. So the narcissists we came into contact with were men. Okay, sorry. That's just the way it is. But we know it goes both ways. But you don't have to be in the relationship with that person. You're not responsible. You know, people think, oh, this is my country. That's my government. I'm responsible. No, it's not your government. That government was never on your side. That government was bought and paid for a long time ago. It's never here for your benefit, right? So it's not your responsibility. You don't have to go vote the right person in to fix the system, right? That's the constant fix. The way you would everybody trying to do something to fix the narcissistic beast system, right? Oh, we got to go vote the right person in. Oh, we got to go vote for this. Oh, we got to go do this, right? Because they're trying to fix this system that can't be fixed because it wasn't ever meant to be put in place to help us.
Boom.
Right? That's it. So
that's where the inner work comes in, right? If we
that's where the inner work comes in, because you got to realize that you are above the system. There's
so
no
if we are
one
to be in the same way that you would heal this supposed system when, you know, by not voting and just basically starting from the ground up. In the same way you do your inner work. You're never going to, if you go back out and you're going and telling the stories about what this person did to you and how horrible they are, and you finally get everyone convinced and they start to see, none of it matters, because you're just going to end up in the same, thing again until you become different from the ground up. So that's a great analogy, another great analogy from Karen. But it works the same way. We can't fix this system. It needs to be removed and restarted. And inner work is once you start digging and you start going deeper, that's when you start finding how deep, you don't even know how deep the trauma is in you until you start letting go. And then you realize it's just a process of releasing it. But then you're no longer magnetized to those types of people. Then you maybe get along with them fine, but they're not going to tear you up anymore. So that's why it's important to get out of victim mode. It's nice to have the template of the narcissist and empath, so to help you understand what's being the dynamics of the relationship. No one's perfect. No one's innocent. You're not either. You may become, when you're being abused by a narcissist, you take on a lot of their traits, obviously. So, because it's the only way you learn to play their game. So, what was my point? So if you get to the point, you do the inner work and you've removed all of the things that make you a magnet for that type of being, then what they do, you're speaking a different language now. You're no longer used as the extension, the narcissistic extension of them. They didn't turn you into their little, anyway. So once you rebuild it, you're just not, they don't affect you anymore. You may look at them, they may seem very silly. They are very silly. There's not much to them, you know?
Yes.
You start to
Just
see
like that control this realm that we're in, that everybody's so terrified of, and they think they're so amazing. All these people think they have so much power. No, they don't. They're just little squirrely little narcissists, and the only reason they have power is because they're using the masses to manifest amongst each other. They don't have to do
Oh.
anything.
Yeah, people need to stop believing in it. And also, people who say that the system is broken, it's not broken. It's functioning exactly how it was designed. It's doing exactly what it's supposed to be doing. There is no fixing it because it's not broken. It's doing what it was designed to do. So therefore, the best thing that we can do is step away from it, not acknowledge it, not give it our energy, not give it our attention. The only reason why it exists is because people believe in it. And it's their belief in it and their belief that they can have an effect on it. Their belief that they can actually vote people into power that are going to do something. Their belief that someone that's in these positions that they've risen to can actually change something in a positive way. The system is working and we need to step away from it. And anyone who thinks that like there's some kind of good thing that come out from within, like a Trojan horse is going to work, is seriously fucked up in the head, and they love their slavery and they don't want to take personal responsibility for their lives. So fuck the government.
Yeah.
That's
and
right.
you can live your life without this being part of your reality. I don't care how many people have told me. I have been living my life for many years, not living in that reality. I do not partake in it. It is not mine. That system. Don't tell me I have to have an opinion over any of these ridiculous wedge issue, stupid topics, non-topics, non-issues. They talk about, fight about, battle, non-stop back and forth. Yes, there needs to be a government, and I believe there is a government. Otherwise, we wouldn't function. We're functioning somewhat okay financially or whatever. Someone's working behind the scenes, but it's not the clowns that they're showing you on the TV, not the puppet actors that people think are the presidents. And I do not partake. I do not have anything to do with that system, nor do I have any opinion whatsoever. I live my life outside of it. You know what they say, you can be in the matrix, but not of it. We have to be in it to a certain extent, but I am not of it. You know, people just can't seem to get that through their head. I'm so sick and tired of people telling me and Brian and others of us that are similar that we are somehow on this side or that. No, that's only because they can't comprehend. They have to classify everything as political because they've been programmed to do that. But we are not political and we don't have any political affiliation. They may think that something Jen says sounds Republican. That's because Jen has her own views. And some of those may be what the Republicans believe. You know, I'm just so sick of the politics. It's so if anyone thinks that clown show is real today, you know, like they can't be helped.
No.
Yeah, it's such a clown show. And just think about why is everything happening like clockwork at exactly the time that it's been scheduled? Just like we go through the cycle every 4 years and all of a sudden people give a fuck about this topic or that topic. They're being socially engineered. Their thoughts are not their own. They're getting it from the mainstream media. And so the best thing to do is to not acknowledge it, just ignore it. Don't take any part of it. Stupid motherfuckers.
Right.
That's right.
Agree.
And kill your TV.
Stop letting them have power over you.
Yep.
That's what everybody needs to do. Stop letting the beast system have power over you, because it does not unless you give it to the beast system. And that was my point. I want to talk about this because I think that is the thing that needs to be said the most. Because, you know, we can sit here and argue with people about whether or not the virus is real or the earth is flat or this or that. But really, what they got to do is they got to wake up and get out of this beast system and start to live free. Because it really it doesn't matter what you think the world is, you know.
They got to be free up here.
Live outside the system. Do no harm, cause no loss. It's the non-aggression principle. That's what true anarchism is, not chaos in the streets where everybody's running around killing each other.
Yeah.
Because that's another thing that the beast system has programmed everybody to believe, that anarchy equals chaos. It does not. It just means that they're out of a job.
Yeah.
Right.
Living in contradiction and living like a slave and living in ignorance and being afraid of knowledge and being afraid of having love and compassion for your fellow human, that's chaos.
Exactly.
But knowledge needs to order. Love, knowledge, order, all of things are against chaos. And love, knowledge, and freedom is what anarchy is. So anarchy is the antithesis of chaos, because you're using your will as a divine human to have control over your life instead of just waiting for some other savior to come in and fix everything around you. It's not going to happen. Trust me.
Instead of living
not
like a
gonna happen.
child, waiting for some authority figure to come and give you rules to live by, because even though you're 30, 40 years old, you're still not able to take care of yourself and think for yourself and make decisions for yourself. And you don't know what's good for your own health either.
Exactly. And that's why someone will perpetually stay not only in the system, but in the relationships that are hurting them. And in fact, be attached to them. Even the children will be attached to that abuser, because freedom is considered to be the most dangerous.
Yeah.
Right? Better to be with
Yeah.
an abuser than to be totally self-responsible.
Well, freedom brings free thought, and their bullshit can't work on somebody who has free thought. See, that's why they have to indoctrinate us to get us the second we're born, right into that capital name, generation after generation, that we're, most people don't even know they don't have to pay taxes. They're just born into it. Death and taxes, it's a thing. Never knowing that, my people perish for lack of knowledge. That's basically what it comes down to. And allowing that energy to continue on suppressing you and never raising to your full potential, which is where I was. Because once I freed myself from one narcissist, I found myself freeing myself from another narcissist 4 months later. The government, all this shit I learned right after I left him and got away from that and freed myself up enough that I was ready to take in this information. I don't know how I came upon it. It was meant to be, apparently, and it's taken me down this road. Now, if I would have left my ex-husband anywhere along the way while I was still in Philly and moved on with my life, I would not be sitting right here talking to you ladies right now. I would have had a whole different life.
Yeah.
But
One more thing.
now looking back, even though I went through, I had to a certain extent, to grow. You see what I'm saying?
There's one more thing that I wanted to add, and this is just me. This is a personal way of life that I've adopted since I've, come to where I am here's where I'm at right now. I want to try and build a life that is self-sufficient, where if shit hits the fan, I'm going to be able to survive. But I don't hoard cash, and I don't want to own anything. I just kind of want to live incognito. I don't want to have any extra shit. I want to be self-sufficient. I want to be prepared. I want to be able to survive, but I don't want to own all this crap that the government can come in and say I have to pay taxes on or owe on, or I mean, basically I want to be a human being, and I want to be able to take care of myself and love the people and take care of the people around me, and then anything extra, I just want to give away and help people.
That's called reserving all rights and waiving all benefits, basically. You don't want nothing from the government. You're going to reserve all your rights and do your thing and, say thank you, but no thank you. I don't want none of your benefits. I don't want your income tax check, all this crap like that. I'm not going to contribute to this anymore. Separating yourself from
also
from
I'm that's what I'm saying is that I am lucky because Jason, he owns the car, he owns the house, he owns the things. I am not going to own anything anymore. I'm just screw it. I don't want anything that my name is on. I'm just going to be under the radar. So that's how I'm lucky, is because I'm able to do that. And if I, obviously not everybody can do that, but that's the way that I personally feel comfortable living. Other people would be like, oh shit, I need to own half, but I don't want to own anything. I just want to be bare minimum.
That's how we are, Rose. That's how we are here. Ever since we started learning this stuff in 2005, when we got married, we were already renting. And from that point on, we could have bought a house at any point along the way. We decided we didn't want a house. We didn't want property taxes, all this stuff. We've been renting ever since. And I actually like renting because I can get up and move whenever I want and I'm free that way. And then we don't pay the taxes. When these first round of checks came out to everybody, and all that stuff, we didn't get any. And I don't know if we're going to ever get any. They said there's some kind of thing for people who don't pay taxes, who are exempt. You have to fill out. Maybe you can get something. But even that, I really don't want anything from them. So unless I was, absolutely desperate for $2,400, I would do it. But I don't see that happening. But yeah, I just try to keep everything.
I never filled it.
So much.
I never filed a tax return. Yeah, when I was paying taxes, I never filed a tax return for some reason. I just was just totally opposed to doing any of that paperwork and communicating with them.
It just makes you feel all icky.
So Jen, are you completely outside of the system now? No passport, no nothing? No birth certificate?
I have a driver's license. I have
Okay.
the driver's license, but I can get away. I can get around that. I got a speeding ticket and had to go to court, and I was the legal representation of the capital name, but they kept asking where Jennifer Santelli was, and I kept saying she's right here. This is right here on this card, capital name, and they didn't know what I was doing. They had no idea because nobody ever does it. The judge finally said, "Oh, I think I know what she's trying to do." I said, "No, sir, I'm doing it." You know what they did? Sent me to this arbitration thing, made me pay the court costs, and took the ticket off. So I didn't have to pay the ticket because I have a free. It's my right to travel in my mode of transportation. I'm not making any money at it. I'm not driving the economy and stuff like that. You can't charge the capital name with anything.
Yes, you have a right to travel in your personal conveyance.
Yes, absolutely. So it was a $179 ticket and $189 court cost. Combined, it would have been, over $400. So I just only had to pay the court cost. They're going to try to pay something getting out of there, but I didn't have to pay the ticket.
Because it's all about money. The whole system is set up around commerce.
That's all it's about. It's currency. It's admiralty law, the law of the sea, Foreign Commercial Code. It all has to do with currencies and banks. The banks of the river control the currency. It flows. Everything's fluid.
Exactly.
I can go on, girls. I can do a whole show on it.
We'll have to do a show on that too.
Yeah.
Jen, they're putting in the chat for you.
When
they're putting in the chat for you.
Step into an ocean, right? You step out front. There's land. It's not an ocean. Why are we living under the law of the sea? I have no idea.
It's October 15th. Do I have microphone?
Yes.
Oh, I do. Okay. Yeah, Jen, they're putting in the chat for you that you have, if you did decide to do it, they are cutting it off. And I think somebody wrote October 30th or 31st, but I saw October 15th in headlines. I'm not sure what's right.
Yeah. But still, it's contracting with the government, and if I really don't need it, I'm not going to try to I don't even want to contract with them. They said you have to get you got to order a 1040 and fill in on certain lines $1. So they can get you into their system so they can mail you this check. And then I don't even want them. I don't even deal with banks, guys. I deal with banks as little as possible. My husband has his direct deposit for work going to one bank. Other than that, I haven't banked in years. I don't even deal with banks.
I agree. The paperwork is icky. It definitely makes me feel icky, and I get to do almost all the paperwork at our house. But on the other hand, I mean, there's some different things that you've said throughout, like on the birth certificate. I was in Colorado the last time I was renewing my license or getting a passport or something. There was a 16-year-old there that wanted, got hired for a job and could not get a driver's license because this generation is coming about parents that did not issue birth certificates. And this child was near in tears saying, I've been working like 4 months on trying to get this. And everybody keeps sending me to this office. They send me to this office. They send me to this office. They send me to this office. And I watched hardcore repercussions just on what do I do? My hands are tied. So I don't know. I agree with what you're saying. The other way, I mean, some of these kids are stuck where they can't. If
you're going to have a baby and not give it a birth certificate or a social security card, and that child grows up and becomes 16 and tries to go out and intermingle with the system, it's not going to work. It's like oil and vinegar or whatever.
It doesn't work. You're right. They can't get driver's license. They can't go to driver's ed class.
The child's either going to have to enter into the system and go get a social security card.
But they're making it like really hard, almost impossible for these children to get into the system, period. Even though they say they want to, these kids are hiring lawyers and spending thousands of dollars and still having difficulty. So I think that no matter what we do, we have to also take responsibility with our decisions.
Oh, absolutely.
And think of what effect they might have.
If you're going to take your child into this truth with you, and then first off, if I had a child again, which I can't have kids anymore, but I'm just saying, I would have it at home. I wouldn't have any shots. I would raise the child with the knowledge that I know and the understanding, and hopefully be living in an area to where it's not so, you can't do this in the middle of the city, in the middle of the beast. You know what I'm saying? You'd have to take this long term and raise your children in these mindsets. They're going to want to go do what everybody else is doing if they're living within the beast itself, which is what these cities are. These are beast cities. You're just overlaid with matrix after matrix of paperwork, all kinds of things, contract, everything you sign, wedding signatures and all that stuff. Even on your driver's license and your social security card, you have to sign it for it to be valid.
I had a fair last week or this past week, and it didn't really occur to me when I was in Canada for the conference coming back on the flight. My retina tore, and I had surgery and everything, and the eyesight never came back at all. Some really beautiful things have happened since then. But when I went to get my driver's license here, they wouldn't give it to me. They said I had to get special permission from an eye doctor because they have different laws in South Carolina. And so I was in fear for a little bit that I might not be able to have a driver's license. And then I thought what that meant. And it's wow, that's a lot of freedom that we have and take for granted. Or
yeah, and you have a right to travel. The laws only apply to the capital name. So you see a speed limit sign, that applies to your capital name, not you. You're a free person traveling. You're not driving, making money. So, and then you go and you dispute all that, and you're going to have to go through. You would have to go through courts, and always have to deal with getting your car impounded, maybe even spending a day in jail. It's not easy going down this road. My son has done it many times, but. You have to stand.
There's a really good documentary on that, and I wish I could remember the name of it. It's something, I think, but it's about I forget I even forget the term the guy used for it. But he basically went through his entire process. It was a beautiful documentary, and it was a very peaceful, encouraging thing. It wasn't about dissent and all this crazy things people could come to their mind when they think of someone who wants to detach from the system. It was a really peaceful thing. And, just like we were talking about the exercise programs, and you don't have to go all in. Like if you don't feel comfortable, you don't have enough knowledge to completely unplug from the system, you can, I've been living my life for many years, being detached in many ways, there are certain things that you can do that that you just are not supporting that system without going completely
as little as possible. If I can get away with not paying sales tax, even my son even mails the letters to me because he writes letters. Most kids don't, I know. But when I have to get the envelope, it's downstairs. He just sent me a money order. His envelope has all this writing all over it. He only pays 1 cent to mail anything out. It doesn't even matter because he knows the postal system and the postmaster general stuff. He knows so much more stuff than I even know about all this stuff. And when I'm mailing something to him, he's like, well, do it the way I do it because, they're charging all this money and, all you have to do is write this, this, and this, and then you're going to send it for 1 cent, but nobody knows that. And
but don't the employees need to be paid, or don't expenses really happen?
What do you mean? I'm sorry.
I mean, it costs money to mail a letter as far as people carry it. Things happen.
Well, yeah, I'm sure, I don't know. Tell us
so
our
you're
taxes.
Getting a service salary, but the service has got some.
The taxes actually go towards the interest on the taxes. The debt is so high that our taxes, all of it, it's not actually going to pay the people that are working.
No,
it's going to
the postal service, but there's another way to do things. There's always remedy, is what I'm trying to say. If you know how to read the law and look for the remedy in there, which is really what we're talking about here, is remedy. So yeah, I don't know about the cost for mailing stuff or whatever, but there's another way to do it instead of them charging you crazy amounts of money to do stuff or to send a package or whatever.
Yeah, and also I have an answer for people that don't have a birth certificate.
One point.
Really quick, just the episode that we just. I might have you. Sorry.
UPS.
Go ahead, Rose.
Well, we just released an episode on Encroachable 7 Radio, 256, and we haven't released another episode since then because we just want as many people to hear it as possible. And it's about exactly this. If someone wants to take control of their financial assets and not be of the system, you can operate in the private but still have control of your name in the public. And so that's another remedy that people are going for, where you don't have to pay income tax, because we're all exempt from that. And so I would definitely check that out if you're interested in knowing how to still still operate in the system, but take control. Instead of the government owning your corporate legal fiction, you own that corporate legal fiction.
Yep. And then that comes your affidavit of truth. You have to put that out there and have it on the record too. File it.
Yeah, stuff. You're changing your status as an American national. Instead of being a United States citizen, you're an American national.
And you have to take yourself off the voter rolls and all that. If you're registered to vote, you get that all taken off and everything. And that, I don't think any of you vote, but I'm just saying that's just part of it. All these things of detaching yourself from it. You're uncontractualizing yourself from them.
Yes, it's a process that everybody has to go to detach themselves from the beast system.
Yeah. We want to know what we all know, and you get to that point, it's so freeing for most people. I mean, it's a lot of years of research and work and determination to figure your way through their legalese and stuff like that. Like I told you, like 15 binders, papers.
I think it would be great if, we could get to a point where we could set up some sort of structured way to detach people from the matrix, like to help people detach them, to like people who really want to get out, to just immerse themselves in soaking up all this new knowledge and finding out the ways to get out, or helping people deprogram from the matrix. I guess that's kind of what we do when we do the live streams at Beth. Yeah. But to help people shed that programming and rediscover who they really are and their real potential and purpose in life. So.
But there's people who have perfect credit and great careers, and they don't even want to detach from the system because it works for them, at least that they think that this is the only thing that works. But there's a whole nother way of life out there that we're not experiencing because of this, this beast over us.
I can't unmute you, Beth. It's weird. Maybe leave and come back. I don't know.
I just ask a lot of questions.
There she is. Now I hear you.
Figured it out. I muted like 3 times. But I wanted to see just one thing, if it didn't come up again, around empaths, because there's such a big narrative around empaths that it's such a sad story when you hear them talking about, I go into a room and then I have everybody's feelings and I have to detox all day long and get rid of all these feelings. I just wanted to say, if anybody's in that situation, that's a false story to carry around. And you can treat it, like, even though it feels to be true, we were born sensitive, absolutely. So it's not like you're trying to lose your sensitivity. But as long as you feel like you're feeling other people's feelings, you're in total delusion. Yeah. Treat it if you have a feeling about the situation, and even if it seems so obvious that it's somebody else, release it as if it's yours. Just treat it as if it's yours. And then you're in a completely new situation and you won't be at the mercy. Right? I never feel like that anymore. If I come into a room with bad energy and I'll just listen and it's like, I don't need to be here, or whatever it is, it's no big deal. I don't need to detox from them because I'm a sovereign being. I'm not, this is my feelings. I decide how I feel, not you.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
really important.
You got another one.
That's the thing I had learned. The UCC in you.
So much stuff.
Yeah, it's a big subject. I was going to say I'm interviewing Christopher James on Tuesday. So for anybody that's listening who wants to get a handle on his version of all of this, I know he was on Crow 777 as well, and I emailed him. He messaged back immediately.
We should probably start going around and everybody can plug their stuff, because we've been going for 2 hours now.
Sounds good.
I need to get me one of those, Jen. Are the old ones better or the new ones better?
Yeah, the old ones are better.
That's what I heard. The old ones are better.
I got the 5th and the 4th edition here. There's a 6th one, though.
All right. So Beth, you were saying you're interviewing.
Yeah, actually, I have 4 interviews this week, so if it's okay, I'll say them. David Whitehead is going to be on my podcast tomorrow at 2:30 p.m. Central Time. So if you guys are fans of his, we're going to talk about the spiritual warfare that's going on. And then Christopher James is on Tuesday at 10 a.m. CDT. We're going to talk common law and everything that we're talking about right now that Jen keeps showing us affidavits of truth about. It's so good. And then on Wednesday, I'm hosting Dr. Jacob Lieberman. He's an ophthalmologist who actually completely healed himself from being blind, but he didn't change his physiology. He changed how he sees. So this guy is amazing, over the top, and I cannot wait to hear if he's woke. I don't know yet. And that'll be the true proof. Like if he can see the bullshit or not, then I, we'll see how that goes. And then if you know Sonia Barrett, she's going to be on Friday at noon. Sonia Barrett from the Expansion Zone. So I was on her show last week. I'll be on this show Monday again. I'm on Jason Goodman's show with Ole tomorrow as well. We recorded that for today. So a ton of stuff going on.
Awesome. Beth is busy.
Yeah.
That's what people keep saying.
I love your shows, Beth.
Oh, thank you, Jen. It's like so beautiful, all you guys. Yeah.
Right on. What about you, Jen?
I'm going to be doing a live stream here either tomorrow or the next day, Monday or Tuesday. I have some really interesting information to present that has to do with the X Factor event and melted buildings. So I'm still on that kick right now.
What about you, Rose? Rose?
Well, I feel like there's a delay. Do you hear me now?
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, like I said, we've got the episode 256 on Code 777 Radio, which is about operating in the private and the public at the same time. It's really good information. And damn it, Jennifer, you're the fucking bomb. I think we might need to have you on or get you on Secrets of Saturn with Crow and just talk about all the shit that you're showing.
David Truth.
Yeah, I'm like texting Jason in a second right now, just telling him we got to get you on Secrets of Saturn because I want you to talk to Jason and Crow about everything that you've been doing for all these years because there are so many people like you that have been doing this for like 10 years, but now some people are like finally wanting to join in and do this stuff as well, but they really need to know their options because there isn't just one way to skin a cat. There's the whole practical aspect of going through the paperwork, and then there's the spiritual aspect of claiming your sovereign immunity just by being like, hey, I know my godly origin because I started through the act of God at fertilization when I just sprang into existence as the zygote, and it has nothing to do with coming through the port of entry. We are not lost at sea. We know who we are. So there are 2 different ways to go at. So anyway, yeah, that's going to be really important. I want to get you on and involved and like on the phone with Crow for sure. But we're coming out with probably tomorrow or Tuesday. We're going to come out with another episode with Clive DeCarl where he talks about addiction again. He's going to rehash things about selenium and amino acids. But then also we're going to talk more about the eLibra device and this Tesla device that can be used to inject very specific frequencies into the body for amazing healing that you wouldn't even believe. If you'll hear about
like
it.
That the Royal Raymond Rife frequency machine.
It's a little bit different than that. It's these machines. I think it's like German engineering that it's like neon gases that are going through these specifically created glass tubes. I'm really not doing it justice, so you got to listen to the episode. But what else am I doing? Oh yeah, I'm really excited tomorrow to listen to Steffi's show. I will definitely be in the audience to listen to Steffi and Brian interviewing people in Huntington Beach. That's gonna be the fucking shit, man. I can't wait for that. So that's what I'm gonna be doing. And it's gonna be 11 Eastern. I'm sorry, Steffi, you should be the one talking about that. But I will do the talk report on Tuesday.
Thank you for that. I look forward to you being there always. We went a second time. We had to go back. Originally, we went there to visit a restaurant that we knew had been open since March with no social no rituals and no mask, and we had a beautiful time. And so we went back there just because we liked the vibe of it. And this time we wanted to talk to people because we thought people would be a lot more open out there, and we were right. So we just hit the streets. We did some really good interviews, just one right after the other, just content that's packed. It's packed with interesting stuff. So we're talking more about more to different people rather than just about bathrooms and masks, you know. So that's going to be tomorrow. I don't know the exact time. Brian has a link. I think he will put it in the chat.
Brian, put your link in the chat.
Yeah.
I think it's tomorrow at 11 on the Real News Online.
Yeah, it's going to be really good. I'm so excited. It's like we did a lot of work on it, and there's a lot of footage, but it's going to be really great. Excited.
Awesome. Cammie, as she's
Hello. Oh, here's one.
Tell everybody where to find you on, what is that? What is
Are you
that?
looking?
Cammie, yes, we're looking.
Okay. Oh, no, there's nothing to look at. I just didn't know what you were looking at. Oh, no, don't put me up like that. Don't ever do
I thought you
that.
wanted to show us something.
No,
Like,
I'm just,
you're looking. No, I just said
no.
tell people where to find you. Are you? Oh, okay. I see what you got there.
Magnet. You can find me at Aislinn717. I haven't done much there, but I will be doing much. Iron Realm Media on Fridays, Globebusters on Sundays, Flattoberfest. Ooh, and these are strong magnets. Ooh. And next Bitches Brew, I will be hosting.
That's right.
And we're going to go somewhere totally different just because I'm totally different. Our next session, if you guys will be open for it, is going to be, my hands are like really stuck together too, a realm of possibilities. Are you guys up for it all, learning and understanding better than like all the guys, even magnetics, after a few hours, and having a really good feel of the energy that does our realm? Because I think if you guys will play with me, I think in a short amount of time, we can have a really different feel than anything that's out there, and have an assignment for our ladies if you'll go for it. There are 6 terms that I want us to learn that are easy, and if I give you guys each a term, will you find it can be a Wikipedia, it can be a scientific, but I'd like a definition of the following. Karen, you can be ferroelectric.
I gotta write that down.
Ferroelectric. Rose, you are para-electric. That's going to make me dia-electric. Beth, you are ferromagnetic.
Ferromagnetic.
How does everybody have a pen? You keep pens next to you. I don't have one.
Well, I'm at a desk.
These are all very, you can call me on this, on the ones anyway, or do it. So you're ferromagnetic. So that would make, Jen, that would make you para, P-A-R-A, magnetic. And Steffi, you are with me. You're going to be diamagnetic. So the top row, Karen, you're ferroelectric. Right underneath it, Beth, you are ferromagnetic. Rose, you are diaelectric.
Oh, diaelectric.
And Jen, you are diamagnetic. And I am going to be para-electric, and you're going to be paramagnetic. When we put those 4 or those 6 terms together, they're all the exact same thing because they're just all same properties. But when we understand how these work together, I think we'll have a new way of looking at gravity, or a new way of looking at exactly how things can flow.
And how do you spell ferro? Is it F-E-R-R-O?
R-O.
Yeah,
It's
F-E-R-O.
It can be F-E-R-O or F-E-R-R-O. I've seen it spelled both ways in scientific papers. And again, it's really simple. It's just ferro, dia, and para. For a short, for people going into it, and we're going to apply it to magnetics and electricity. Ferro is the permeability to magnets and magnetics, things that can be magnetized. Dia, it's your water, some other things. Again, it's your permeability that follows your right hand rule always. You can think of gravity when you think about dielectric, diamagnetic. The energy of it always, it's in motion, and it follows the right-hand rule. It runs perpendicular to the inertial plane, the dielectric inertial plane, and guess what? So does gravity. It's a part of the field. It's moving. The para part is, the Pharaoh is a static field. It's a static. It's dropping your filings on. It is a static field. Your other fields are dynamic, very, very dynamic. And your para is going to do your in motion. So when you think of your stars rotating in your different rotation, you're going to pick up para. And when we take all of our pieces and put them together, I think it's very cool the way they assemble as I'm holding the big magnet. So if you guys want to play in 2 weeks, Bitches Brew, a realm of possibilities.
I hope I got it all the words right because I wanted to type it to put it in the chat, all 6 of the words.
Okay.
Ferroelectric, ferromagnetic, paramagnetic, paraelectric, diamagnetic, dielectric.
Yes. Yeah, we just have really, again, dia, ferro, and para, and it's either electric or magnetic, but it's all electricity and magnetism are different sides of the same coin. So all of these pieces, it's when we look at them separately, we can kind of see how they work and how they work together. So perfect.
I spelled all those right, but I tried.
You know what?
Paraelectric, I'm not sure about.
Which one
Actually,
were you
guys,
Mm-hmm.
That's October 18th. I actually might be coming to you guys on Bitches Brew from a hotel because Jason and I are going to be going to Florida to be filming our virus documentary with Dr. Andrew Kaufman.
Wow.
Nice.
So
Yeah,
good.
it's going to be badass. We got Dr. Lenka on it from Germany, but God knows how anyone's going to be able to travel to Germany to get his footage, but we'll do the best we can.
What part of Florida?
Andrew's telling me about it.
They're
Miami.
asking me,
Okay.
they're saying, which channel is this going to be on? My channel is so tiny. I think I'm going to simulcast on my channel and try to grow it and probably run it at the same time on Iron Realm Media, if that sounds good enough for everybody.
I'm down for whatever. Whatever
Okay.
you want to do, it's going to be your show.
Okay, I think that's what I'm going to do. So we're going to simulcast Iron Realm Media and on Aisling 717.
Awesome.
And a realm of possibilities.
Right.
Followed by Flattoberfest.
That's right. Flattoberfest. That's what I was just going to go to next.
I have to put my magnets in different places, so you go ahead. They can't be anywhere near each other.
Yeah. So that is what I'm working on right now. I still do Tuesdays. I still do Strange World with Mark Sargent. And Thursdays, usually Brian and I will do Unveiling This Realm on Thursdays. The last week we did it on Friday. That's very rare. We never done that before. It's Thursdays. And then, of course, Flattoberfest, which I want to play. I'm going to play the ad as we exit, everybody. So put your links in the chat. If you ladies, I'm not sure if you all have wrenches on this new channel or not. You should. If not, I'll fix it. But put links to your shows, links to your channels. Everybody sub these ladies, sub their channels, check them out. And we will close out this evening's Bitches Brew with my latest promo for Flattoberfest. I added Mike Williams to the roster, and I'm super stoked. Mike Williams of Sage of Quay Radio, someone I've been listening to for years. I listened to him since before Flat Earth. I learned about Black Goo from Mike Williams, so years ago. So I really am super stoked to have him as one of the speakers at the event. So that's it. Everybody put your links in the chat. And thank you, ladies, for being here. And good night, everybody.
Good night.
Thank you so much.
October 24th, 2020, Flattoberfest is happening in Greenville, South Carolina for one day. We're having an interactive meeting of like minds. So come and charge your electromagnetic field, because you know that your heart field was made for interaction. And nothing replaces meeting face to face. There will be a variety of presenters, including Mike Williams of sageofquayradio.com and Bob Nodell of Globebusters, as well as Jason Lindgren from Secrets of Saturn and the Crow 777 radio show. Also, we'll be joined by James True, as well as Mark Sargent. Also featuring an exhibit on how the world works, full of scientific tools and gadgets to help you visualize how the realm works with electromagnetism as the driving force. Hosted by Cami Nodell and Zach Zabala. So join us for fellowship, conversation, and laughter at Flattoberfest 2020. Please go to flattoberfest.com to purchase tickets and to get info about the event. I'm looking forward to seeing everyone there. Come on, get out of the house while it's still legal.